I'm just going to show you a little bit of what happened with the roadworks on Sheriff Street. So this is where Mandela Avenue becomes Sheriff Street, and they have been working on the road surface and the shoulder as well in last year, and this is how far they've gotten. This is what used to be called the Blacker, I believe, the canal that runs through the gardens, runs beside the gardens and Bellier Park, and this is a pedestrian bridge across the Blacker, this canal. Alright, so this is what's happening here, guys. This is now the beginning of Sheriff Street. It goes all the way out to the Atlantic Ocean and the Craig Highway. On the south western side, that's Bellier. And on the eastern side, so basically they've managed to complete the surface of Sheriff Street. This is now what the sidewalk looks like. Remember, there never was a sidewalk, so what they've actually done in the last 2 years, with the help of Chinese civil engineers, is they installed a gutter, or what is a covered drainage system all along Sheriff Street, and over the drainage system they've installed this cement kind of sidewalk, slabs of cement blocks covering the drainage system, and this is supposed to have been done on both sides of Sheriff Street, and it should have extended, or should be extending, all the way out to the Rupert Craig Highway. That there is the entrance to Bellier. Some new construction going up here on Sheriff Street. So this is a new single family home, it seems, going up here on Sheriff Street. We've added signage to some of the roads, although the remains of the streets have not yet been put back. So can't tell you exactly which road we are. That now probably listening to the next one. But the point is that there is some construction work going on in this neck of the woods, and it's still in progress, has not yet been completed. This is the Sheriff Street redevelopment or development project. Now, last time I was here, all of this stuff had not yet been done. Right, the sidewalk covering these drains had not yet been installed. But now they have done that on both sides of the road. They've also installed these posts for traffic lights and new lamp posts. So you may not have recognized or noticed that, but this is Duncan Street, right? So this is a major artery cutting across the city. And they've installed these traffic lights, or the posts that are supposed to hold traffic lights. That's also a new building that's going up on Duncan Street, or almost completed apparently, since the last time we were here. That's what's happening, guys. Sheriff Street is also one of the busier streets. This is the one that eventually turns into Mandela Avenue and eventually runs into the new bypass road at South Roundabout, where there is that traffic circle. So it's a continuation of Sheriff Street into Mandela Avenue that eventually runs into the East Bank Bypass Road. So that's why this street is interesting. There's going to be a heavy use of this street because it is now the major route to bypass the city center. In other words, traffic heading up the East Bank to perhaps the airport will now take Sheriff Street to the bypass, East Bank bypass, Sheriff Street, Mandela Avenue, East Bank bypass to get to the airport, to bypass the center of the city. In other words, the city center is east of here for another 2 miles, 3 miles east. So this is part of the bypass route. Sheriff Street is now part of the bypass, the Georgetown bypass, and that's one of the reasons why it's important. I want to show you the other side of the street to show you that, in fact, they have completed the sidewalk on both sides of the street. Let's cross over. So this is now the western side of the street, and you can see there's also a covered drain there. In other words, the last time we were here they were putting in these drains. They were uncovered, but now they are covered. Nerva shopping center. This building was installed in construction, I don't know what, eventually will be completed here. But this is what is happening here on Sheriff Street. Looking south, this is what heads or leads to Mandela Avenue, and then eventually the Georgetown, the bypass, East Bank bypass road, and eventually this road is going to become the most used, the busiest route because of the traffic that wants to travel from the east of the country, that is from Berbice and East Coast all the way over to the south. That means Susdike and Timeri and Linden. And to be able to bypass Georgetown, they would have to use Sheriff Street. Restaurant. They've removed most of these road signs and haven't put them back up yet, so can't give you the exact location along Sheriff Street that I am, but we're heading north towards the this is what Sheriff Street looks like today after they've done the road work. This is one of the busiest, in fact will become one of the busiest thoroughfares in the city. Still some work apparently, somebody's been tearing up the sidewalk or the surface here. Perhaps to redo, refinish. surface. I remember the last time you were here in this neck of the woods, in this part of the city, on Sheriff Street, the surface of the road had not yet been completed, had not yet been finished. There was just exposed sand and gravel and stone, and now they have completed it. So there's a sidewalk, there are these bridges and pedestrian walkways across the bridges. It seems as if it is almost completed. Right, the surface of these roads are now much better than the last time you were here. It was all rocks and dust. Apparently there's still some work to be done completing the surface of the road. Somebody tore up the section of the surface here, perhaps to redo, to refinish it. But yes guys, this is the state of Sheriff Street in Georgetown on Wednesday, 23rd of March 2022. And a lot of the construction is still in the process of being completed. Most of it probably delayed because of the pandemic. The last 2 years I've seen a lot of construction delays because of the pandemic. And so some of the construction work is still incomplete, still has not yet been completed. So here we are guys on Sheriff Street. We're about the middle of Sheriff Street now, heading towards the end. That is towards the north end. It seems as if the road work in this part of the street has not yet been completed. Still some construction work. Somebody's doing some construction and blocking the sidewalk. There's somebody who has a car collection on the sidewalk. So still in the state of being completed. It seems as if the drainage on the other side of the street, that is the eastern side of the street, is no longer covered at this point, but there is a covered drainage system here on the western side. And the surface of the road that is close to the sidewalk is still not completed. In other words, there seems to have been deliberate effort to redo the surface of the road, and that's why there's a neat cut stripping away of the surface. Another important intersection, another important roadway. So this is Campbell Street, Campbell and Sheriff Street intersection. Steakhouse. And the last time I tried to visit the OMG Rock Steakhouse, they wouldn't let me in the door because I was coming in after work and they thought I wasn't appropriately dressed. I had on a long sleeve shirt and a pair of slacks, and they thought that that was not appropriate. I never returned, but that's their choice. That's the business here, guys. That's what's happening here on Sheriff Street in Georgetown. It's one of the busier, in fact one of the busiest streets on the outer ring of the city. In other words, this is not considered the center of the city, but it's definitely a center of economic activity in itself. Probably as busy in terms of business as some of the downtown areas, right? Because there's a lot of commercial activity going on Sheriff Street. I would say probably as in terms of economic activity, probably as busy as Main Street in Georgetown, Guyana, right? With the number of commercial centers. That, for example, is Pizza Hut, Buddy's. This building apparently is for sale and stuck in an incomplete state for about a decade. These two in the middle of construction are ready for rent or sale, right? So there are buildings going up here on Sheriff Street already being put up for sale in anticipation of the economic activity that is going to explode on Guyana as a result of the oil and gas industry and the flow of capital into the country. So Sheriff Street is becoming one of the most commercially active streets in the city, right, in terms of the number of commercial centers, businesses on Sheriff Street. This is probably as busy as any of the main streets in the city center, but it is not in the city center. Like I said, it's probably about 2 or 3 miles away from downtown Georgetown, where we're calling Main Street, St. Main Street and Church Street and Regent Street. Those are the downtown streets in Georgetown. It's another new building. This one actually was built in the last 5 years. It's now some kind of residential building, I believe. But this is what's happening, guys. This is what is happening on Sheriff Street in Georgetown. And what we're seeing is that sidewalk has been restored and continued on the eastern side so far. They had stopped the sidewalk for a little bit on this eastern side. Here you can see this is a guardrail, and then the sidewalk continues for a little bit. But once you get a few blocks down, the sidewalk stops, and then they continue it again. So a bit haphazard, and in fact, it's still not smooth enough for, say, a wheelchair person using a wheelchair. So there's not a very thoughtful plan in the way the sidewalk has been implemented. These are still trip hazards that be difficult to use, in fact impossible to use if you were in a wheelchair. So that sort of tells you that we're not quite up to international standards as far as infrastructure, building infrastructure, because if you were building this sidewalk, for example, in Singapore or anywhere in the major cities in Europe, these would be considerations. It would have to be smooth enough so that you don't trip It doesn't present a trip hazard, and it would have to be wheelchair accessible from the side of the road, from the road, as well as you move along it. In other words, the surface is not level, and therefore it's not friendly for wheelchairs. But that's the downside of it. The upside is that there is some progress. Coming up on the traffic circle. Alright, so this is supposed to be a traffic circle. That's the old Dial gas station. The gas is now one of the hottest, most expensive commodities in the world. So Ghana is now a oil-producing country. Problem is that does not shield us from having inflated oil and gas prices. Here we are, guys. We're going back to the end of Sheriff Street. This is a traffic circle. Again, not exactly a circle, but it's one of those go-to infrastructure devices that Guyanese have adopted. I don't know that this is necessarily the best application of the traffic circle, but it is here. The reason why it's not the best application is because it doesn't really serve pedestrians very well. It's dangerous for pedestrians. So for example, I have to look in several directions to cross safely. It would probably be almost impossible for children to navigate on their own. So traffic circles are in fact quite dangerous for pedestrians. But that's a new traffic circle. It seems to have been completed. And here we are heading towards the north end of Sheriff Street. Sheriff Medical Center. Here is one of the largest private pharmacies in medical service companies. And they have their own ambulance facilities. Sheriff Medical. Don't know who owns it. But obviously it's connected to Miami Pizzeria, subs and salads, and Italian grill. So there are probably a group of businesses, group of companies owned by the same person. Yes guys, here we are headed towards the end of Sheriff Street. This drain, like I said, is no longer covered. They did in fact put a concrete surface, an inner surface on it at this point, but it's no longer covered. It's an open drainage system at this point. But on the western side, it is covered. I'm going to cross over the street to show you the western side is covered. So here we are in this neck of the woods. This is a famous primary school, and their playground is on the other side of this bushy fence. Yes, here is the sidewalk. That is covered sidewalk that has been returned. In other words, it seems more consistent on the eastern side of the city. That's Maze on the 12th primary school. And that's their playground. This is the covered sidewalk. now called Miami Decor. This is a kind of home goods store like Home Depot, and what's the Canadian version of that? Morning. So that's a home decor store like Home Depot, privately owned. A's Beauty Salon. And the gardens on the right. That is the eastern side. So that is it, guys. This is the end of Sheriff Street. We've actually covered the length of Sheriff Street in this video as we approach the intersection with Rupert Craig Highway at the seawall. Alright, we're getting to Rupert Craig Highway at the seawall. Remember, you can share this video with friends and family around the world. Remember also that you can get channel merchandise now from rnbrand.online. I have 2 lines of merchandise, over 500 items, in fact almost 750 items today on the website or the e-commerce site to choose from. The 2 lines of channel merchandise are the Show Me Your Colors line of t-shirts, jerseys, hoodies, sweatshirts. They feature a Guyana flag inside of an American flag, or just a Guyana flag by itself. It's a well-known graphic from the internet that has been modified to reflect, you know, Guyanese American and eventually Guyanese Canadian, British Guyanese, and so on colors. So the Show Me Your Colors line is meant to be something you buy and wear at Independence Day, West Indian Day Parade, Caravana, and you know, the Nottingham Carnival. And the other line is the Biomedical Sciences line of t-shirts, jerseys, hoodies, and so on. You can get them all now from rnbrand, rnbrand.online. So there you have it, guys. That's Sheriff Street. We're now back at the Atlantic Ocean and the seawall. That's Sheriff Street in Georgetown, Guyana. Remember to like and subscribe, comment, and share this video with friends and family around the world. Let people know what's happening here in